Welcome to the Wellness Revolution podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here's your host, Dr. Veronica.
I'm so happy you're back. This is Dr. Veronica again. It's the Wellness Revolution. And today we're going to talk about your vibrations. Of course, when I start, my doggy starts barking. I know he's going to stop, but he's like a kid. That's Apollo today. You guys have seen Artemis on some of them come into the picture. And my doggies keep me company. Artemis is away. Apollo's here today. Yes, Artemis and Apollo, they are. And let's talk about the vibrations. Interesting in the vibrations is, let me just talk about a little bit when I'm talking about my doggies, that I know my doggies from a past life, way back, 4,500 years past life. And they weren't doggies in that life. They were actually peacocks. This is another life where I spent with my husband. And so I'm telling you about this because we know each other. And we all have energy and we all sit at different vibrational levels. And the healthier you are, the higher your vibrations are. The higher your vibrations are, the healthier you are. And you're saying, well, what does that all mean? Well, you might term it energy. You say, my energy feels high, my energy feels low. Energy is what we say in Western terms. But when you go outside of Western terms, more Eastern, you start talking very specifically about different areas of your you. The physical you is not just what you see. There's also the physics of you and the vibrations of you. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that now. In Western medicine, we never talk about that except you say to your doctor, my energy's low. And they say, I'm sorry, your energy's low. Well, here we deal with it more specifically. You know, I do this as a medical intuitive. I look at people's energy. I don't even meet them. I don't even like to see them before I do the reading because I get too much information and knowledge. I'd like to just know their name, know the birth date. And guess what? Jaya Jaya Myra. Jaya Jaya Myra is who is with me today. And she works with vibrations and healing. And she is an international bestseller author, and we're going to talk about those vibrations and energies and systems outside of Western medicine that can help you heal and help you feel better. Guess what? You get stuck in life. We all get stuck places. And Jaya Jaya Myra can tell us where we get stuck by knowing tiny little bits of information about us, by looking at a picture, by maybe listening to voices. I mean, I can tell, this is why I don't talk to people before I do readings. I can tell things by listening to people's voice. That has a certain vibration to it. So I realize in my voice, a lot of people say, I like to listen to you. Yes, because there's certain sounds and vibrations in it that help your body and your feeling. So Jaya Jaya Myra, best-selling author, expert in vibrational healing and energy. Welcome to the Wellness Revolution.
Thank you. It's good to be here today.
Thank you so much. And I want to know, first of all, a little bit about your background for the audience. How did you get started doing what you do? Because most people aren't born thinking about my vibrations.
That's
How did you get started?
That's very true. Actually, my background is as a molecular biologist. I was very close to getting my PhD. I was doing immunology research, and I wasn't very happy with the way the research was going. I wasn't happy with the models that we use to get information, where you're testing on animals and doing things that cause death and harm to creatures in the name of health and healing. So at that same time, I was pursuing Eastern philosophical studies and studying with a guru. And I started to uncover some of those hidden secrets to health and wellness that were rooted in the philosophical teachings. And I found, and I personally believed, that they were going to work a lot better and that I wanted to devote my life to that. So right when I was on the verge of getting my PhD, I walked away from that and from the pharmaceutical industry and just started this whole other path. I felt it was better to be in integrity with myself and what I really believed than to go forward and get a degree in something that I never felt that I was going to utilize.
Interesting. When I first went into undergrad, I wanted to go into molecular biology. I ended up going into psychology and neuroscience, but it's always interesting to hear how alike my background is to a lot of the people that I've interviewed, and I don't even know that part of their background. So you're drawn to certain types of people.
Absolutely.
You said pharmaceuticals, that hotbed word, the pharmaceuticals seem to be running our lives now. And you said, instead of doing were you doing pharmaceutical research, or what were you doing with pharmaceuticals, and why did that?
Part of the time, yes, I was working in academia, and part of the time I was working within the pharmaceutical industry in preclinical testing. And that really just took too much of a toll on me. It came to a point in my life to where I began to get very ill myself, and doctors couldn't really figure out anything that was wrong with me. And so the very interesting story behind that, I think this is when I made that full, complete transition over to the more energetic approach and philosophical and working with meditation and breathing and alternative methods. I ended up essentially being released from my job on disability. I was so distraught for everything that was happening. And I literally just said a prayer one day. It's like, I can't go back. I can't do this animal testing anymore. It's just killing me and breaking my heart. Just like make my hands not work or something. I can't do this. And then that's literally what happened. I went into the back to work with a group of animals, and my hands went numb and stopped working, and I couldn't perform my job anymore. So that was when I took that as a clear answer to my prayer, and I delved in wholeheartedly into these other teachings and kept exploring and understanding the trends in the relationships and how you find health, how you find wellness, how it relates to your spirituality, to your life path, and everything. And I was able to heal myself completely naturally from a point to when my doctor couldn't figure out anything and was ready to put me on complete disability.
Interesting. So did you have a diagnosis when you went out on disability, or were you one of those mysteries?
It was a mystery, but she did diagnose me with fibromyalgia.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I'm laughing because you didn't describe what you had, and I get energetic readings from people, and it popped into me, fibromyalgia. Like you said, I had this, it just popped in, and I was like, I should have said it ahead of time. Did you have fibromyalgia?
It's always, I think, what people in the Western medical system go towards, because it's basically, if you can't find something else that's wrong with you, then they're going to diagnose with the syndrome, because they don't really, medicine doesn't exactly know what it is yet or what causes it. I mean, they know, of course, that there's links between fibromyalgia and lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, and they all stem from similar things energetically. It just depends on how and where it's impacting the body and the mind.
So let's talk about that energetically, because in the work that I do, I see people on both sides with fibromyalgia. And when I say on both sides, I see the people on the functional medicine side with fibromyalgia, but I also see people who come to me for intuitive readings to figure out what's wrong with me, who end up later on in the reading, after I tell them, here's what's going on, blah, blah, blah. They tell me they were diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And one of the common threads I see in people with fibromyalgia, which is quite interesting, a lot of anger, quite a lot of anger that's buried deep. And sometimes fibromyalgia clients are difficult to communicate with because they're very wedded to their diagnosis. And angry, it's almost like angry at the world. And when you try to help them, it's almost like they don't want the help. Tell me what you've gotten out of fibromyalgia from both your personal experience and also now your vibrational healing experience based on what I just said.
Well, I never accepted that I had the syndrome that the doctor said I had. I always knew what the root cause of everything really was. And so I'm not the sort of person that likes to put labels on something. You know, Eastern philosophy believes that the body is going to respond to the experiences that happen to you in life. So if you have traumatic experiences and pain, it gets stored in the nervous system because the nervous system doesn't have a way to unload this burden. And yes, anger is a very detrimental thing. It's hot, it's fiery, it's very closely related to fire element. And that what it really does is, like, if the parasympathetic nervous system can't kick in, it just goes in and burns everything up. And then you end up with pain everywhere in your body because this isn't being managed. I found that a lot of people want to own their diagnosis. It's like the disease belongs to them. And I never did that. I'm like, I'm not going to be ill. I'm going to get through this. I know exactly what's wrong, and I'm going to work it out. And that's what I did. So I think that's one of the things that sets me apart from a lot of people is I didn't want to stay angry with the world or with life. I want to heal, and I want to be able to heal other people, and I want to live a good, successful life myself, which I've been able to because of the practices that I do with meditation, with spirituality, with seva and service to the world and helping people. All those things are very therapeutic, and they do help to unload that burden that's in the mind and the emotions that then gets reflected through the body.
Okay, so you were able to find your healing. Mm-hmm. Tell how you help people find healing now. You talk about these 9 types and the different elements that have gone through the conversation so far. Give us a little background on that so we can start to understand more.
So the way that I explain it to other people is rooted in the Eastern philosophies, broken down into a person's elemental composition. So we look at 5 main elemental types of earth, water, fire, air, and space or ether element. And so everything that's in existence here is made of different proportions of those elements, some with very little density like air and space, all the way down to earth and water, which are the most dense of the elements and weigh the most. And it's like tangible, you know, you can touch things. The body has a lot of earth and water element in it, or it couldn't exist in this form. So when you understand that everything, including humans and the human body, are made up of different proportions of these elements, and that each element has traits and attributes that go along with it to shape your body type and also to shape your emotions and your psychological temperament, it becomes a lot easier to understand why you act in particular ways, why you like specific things, why you don't like other things, and to find the sorts of modalities and lifestyle habits that are going to work for your unique composition type. And so everyone has all 5 of these elements inside of them, but they're all in different proportions in different people. So I work with people to understand, like, what is their main elemental composition? How does this break down in percentage terms, like with all of the other ones, and to find the sorts of alternative and natural modalities that are going to work with them based on their elemental composition, to find the right sort of meditations that will work, the right sort of breathing techniques, to explain to people why they're inclined maybe to the career or the arts or whatever it is that they're doing right now, and how to expand on that in a healthy way for their vibrational frequency.
Okay, so give us an example. I say, feel free to use me as an example. You say, I just look at people and I can tell.
I think that your energy, you've got like a fairly balanced composition, but I would say that you've got a lot of air and water too. But I know you wouldn't be as successful as you were if you didn't have that fire element there as well. So like, when I look at you, you know, I see like all of these different elements together. And so those balanced compositions, you know, it can be a blessing or a curse, like the way that people work with them. But I would say that the way like you're working with your energy is definitely working for you and for the things that you're doing and being of service and helping mankind and working in the healing arts. So, but some people come and they don't have like balance in their energy type, or they're really watery, or they're really earthy, or they struggle with health problems like weight gain. Like weight gain is something that's almost always attributed to earth and water elements being out of balance, and like helping people to bring that back in. Or like people say who can't gain weight at all, they have a huge proportion of air element in their physical body. and it becomes very, very difficult, like for them to actually put on weight and stay grounded and stay healthy and stay focused.
So let's break that down just a little bit more, because people are saying, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? So you said you're more air and water, but you're balanced. Okay, I got that. But then you said, well, the air people have problems gaining weight. And then you got the earth water people. Did you say earth water people that are the weight gainers? Okay.
Yes.
So,
you know, like the person who could like look at a cookie or a piece of bread and gain 5 pounds. Those people are out to be like the earth and water element type. Like, it's or they have like the greatest proportion of earth or water in their constitution. I mean, and that's like one of the ways that it manifests in the body, is that because earth is the most dense of all the elements, so it's going to make that energy type is going to make things solid very quickly. So that's going to solidify in the physical body and make the body actually larger, which is it's pretty cool when you think about it. Psychologically, it does the same thing. Like, you know, we talk about manifestation and manifesting and bringing things to us. People with a lot of earth element are really great at manifestation, because they can bring things to them and draw things to them and take subtle ideas and concepts and make them a reality. So on the physical side, you got to really exercise and work your body. But on the mental, emotional side, when it's working for you, you're like, you can be just really great, really organized, and really powerful person.
So this earthy person who's having trouble with excess weight, and usually when they end up in your as your client or my client, the excess weight is a big deal and a big problem and causing a lot of problems. What would you tell somebody to do to balance that out? How does this all fit together? How do they get more towards the air? They're like, I want to be air. I want to be air. How do they get there more?
So like eating foods that are going to combat that, like not eating earthy rooted foods as much, like potatoes, carrots, things that are in the ground. Those are earthy by nature. And if you want to get rid of some of that density, eat foods that are lighter, like eat things like salad, eat nuts, eat fruits, eat lighter grains, quinoa, things that are going to uplift the energy a little bit more. Of course, eat smaller portion sizes, which is good for everyone. But the most fundamental thing is you need to exercise just about every single day. You need to get out, you need to do like something. You have to be extremely disciplined and diligent. And all energy types have their strengths and all of them have their weaknesses. So it's just a matter of being really accountable to knowing what your energy type is, what is the weakness, and not succumbing to that weakness. Like, play to your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. I mean, knowledge is power.
Are there certain disease states that tend to be associated with the earth type?
I haven't explored that side of things. I think like people who have like excess earth, or, you know, we'll say like excess tamasic energy in general, like a lot of density. If someone has a disease, it's not because they're an earth-based composition. It's because they have a lot of density and stagnation in their energy type. Like, it's because they're not working with their energy type well or effectively. So someone with a really earthy constitution can be extremely healthy if they take care of themselves. But someone who is not taking care of themselves, yeah, I think they're going to be more prone to getting any number of diseases or ailments, just because it's so easy for the physical body to get affected.
So the earthy people are the ones that are just going to have to work really hard at it, is what you're saying.
And water. I would say water even more so, because water element is really tied to the emotions, and it's tied to the way we relate to sexuality and the way that we relate to food. So people with water constitutions are the ones I think who struggle with it the most.
Wow. Okay. Now on the other side is the air. And those are the people you said, okay, these are the people that have trouble gaining weight. And what else goes along with the air?
I'm sure you've heard the typical term, like being an airhead. That's kind of like where that comes from. I mean, like not being grounded, not being fully connected to what's going on, maybe having an idea or a concept, but not being able to root that down into reality and make something of it. Like people who can start projects and come up with ideas, but can't follow through with it and stick the course to completion. That would be something that an air element person would do. So they could be these really great creators and conceptors, but then they're going to have to hand off those ideas to someone with a little bit more of the ability to put them into manifestation.
I can see how I can be an air. I mean, now if you translate that to a Colby index, what you just said means that I'm a 9 quick start and a 2 follow through, and that's what an air is.
If you had like all
very
air,
lofty,
and nothing else.
visionary ideas, and it's really, I have to have somebody on the team that I can pass it off to get to the end of the line. It's very difficult, but that's in Colby terms, which is what is your instinct? Colby, that means you're a quick start. You come up with all these beautiful visionary ideas, very creative, and then it's like, okay, I petered out now. And if you don't hand it off to somebody else, it doesn't get finished. And so you have to realize that I have to balance it off. And for that, when you talk about it, as you're talking about it, it's not about making yourself more of a follow through. It's about making your team, putting the right people on your team. So I don't pick on my team quick starts. I have to pick people who are follow throughs on my team.
Yeah, you should always have a team with you that is other attributes that you don't have, so things stay balanced. Like, I think your energy is more balanced than that, but for someone who has a lot of air elements, like if that was their primary type, it would be very difficult for them just to have the vitality and the energy to work long hours and carry through on these mental and physical projects. So it would be very useful to have someone who could do that.
Yes. So how do you look at somebody and tell, what are you seeing in them? Are you seeing their aura, or how do you do that?
I don't know exactly how I do it, but I can tell by the way the body is shaped, like the face, the body. People who have like more rounded features will always have water element in them. People who are really, really gaunt or frail or very petite, they're going to have a lot of air element in their constitution. Anyone who has weight issues, it's going to be related to earth or water being out of balance. People who tend to be kind of neutral, like in the middle, like good physique, good frame, tend to have a lot of fire element, because fire sits right between all the other ones. And it's like the hinge point for everything. It can take earth and burn it up. It can boil water. Conversely, water can put out fire. So people who have water and fire in their constitutions, it's a horrible, horrible mix. It usually means that those people are prone to anger or outbursts. That's what happens. Like fire boils water, then water gets like explosive and it can't contain itself. Or like your emotional nature is going to dampen that fire, that drive and ambition that you have. It's going to be covered up by your feelings and your emotions. So it's that's the hardest one to balance in people, I think, is people like that are strong water signs and strong fire signs.
Wow. So give me an example about how you would work with a client, or a client that you've worked with that has come to you and there's been a transformation, because we're sitting here and it's pretty theoretical right now. Yeah, that all sounds good, but now what do I do with it?
So after a person learns like about these different attributes inside of themselves, I think it's really important to find the right sort of meditation technique that's going to work for that person. And I teach the difference between a technique and a silent meditation. And I find one of each for people to work with, because they have different results. A technique is meant to focus the mind. It's meant to cultivate fire and just really focus on a goal that you want to attain and to help you attain that. The silent meditations are the ones that really dig deep into the body and into the mind and start unloading the nervous system. They start unloading that burden that we've picked up and accumulated just literally by being alive and by being out and doing things. I mean, we get millions of impressions every single day that come into the mind and come into the body, and we have to learn to let those go.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to do all the time. And all this is piling in.
Absolutely. And it's not healthy. I mean, people, I don't think they think about it this way, but we eat food every day. The body digests the food and then we get rid of it. We excrete it out and it's gone. But if you don't do meditation, you're not digesting the things that come into the mind and into the emotions. It's just sitting there and it's cluttering up the mind like a garbage bin, and that doesn't do any good. Meditation is that process of fire that goes in and digests all of that stuff, so then it can be excreted out of the mind and the emotions, and it's not causing a burden. So meditation by itself will fix a ton of problems that anyone comes in with. It starts to alleviate most health problems. It reduces stress. It reduces anxiety. It helps people to focus more. It helps them to be more in tune with what's really going on and just not getting burdened by those millions of impressions that are poking at unresolved feelings.
What about that person out there that's saying meditation, that's just not for me. It's just not for me. My mind goes too fast. I don't have time. Give me an
That's
idea.
the whole point. I think those people need it even more. And it's not about making the mind silent. It's about sitting and like becoming like a witness to what's going on. Like you watch what's coming through the mind, you see what's going on. And eventually through practice, you do get good at it. That's the way with life. Anything you do repeatedly and consistently, you will get good at.
How do you describe the difference between meditation and prayer?
I think meditation is when you're really listening to yourself and God, and you're being silent and you're receiving. And prayer is when you're asking for something. It's when you're trying to draw something to you. Oh God, can you please manifest this in my life? So it's an attractive energy that's pulling that towards you. Meditation is an energy that dumps things straight out of the body. So it's a little bit of an opposite process. And I think that they're both really important, because if you're praying, you need to be able to listen to what's going on. And if that prayer is being answered, it's not just by seeing something happen in your life, it's by understanding maybe God doesn't want to bring that to you, or maybe it's not the time right now. And if you meditate and you get really quiet, you can just start to hear from the heart space. It's like, it's very silent. You know, that the ego and the mind screams at you all the time. The heart speaks so softly. You have to really tune into it and feel that vibration and feel what's going on. And then you don't really have questions at that point. You know, you can tap into just about anything you want to know.
So if we want to get started doing this, what's step number one? How do we find you? And then as we're getting ready to meet you, what would you say people need to do to prepare?
Well, you can always find me on my website at jayajayamyra.com. You can find my book on Amazon. It's been published and translated into 9 languages now, so you can find it worldwide. So if English is not your primary language, there may be another language out there that is in that would be beneficial. So the books actually have quizzes in them to help people determine their energetic type. So I make this really easy for people. They can pick up the book, they can find out their energy type in their body, in their mind. It pairs those specific energy types already with meditation techniques, with pranayams, with alternative health modalities, and explains why they're apt to work and why they're not. There's very simple, practical explanations of the chakras, which are great. I don't look at it in a metaphysical way. I look at it in a very practical, tangible way that I can explain to people how are your different chakra energies affecting your consciousness and your thought patterns in everyday life, and working with them that way. Because then they're approachable. I mean, what's approachable if someone's telling you this is a bija mantra for this petal? That's like not approachable to anyone.
Yeah, certainly isn't.
So, I mean, unless you're going to go like spend your life in an ashram and spend 8 or 10 hours a day in prayer and meditation, and I'm not really trying to knock that. That's why some of these practices exist, is because they're meant to take a lot of time for people that have devoted their life to doing nothing but that. But there's other spiritual teachings and practices that are adapted towards householders like you and me, that have families and relationships and careers, to where you don't have to spend 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day doing a ritual or something. The only reason these people do it is to occupy their mind and keep them busy. We stay so busy here in the West. We don't need that. We need simple practices that like we can do and focus our mind and our attention on and get results quickly. So the book will definitely help people do that. I do coaching with people who want to take it another step further and get personal guidance and advice. So it's really whatever someone wants to do. You know, if they want to be very independent, pick up the book. You'll learn a ton of things. If you want to dive in a little bit deeper, you can always contact me, and like we can do some one-on-one sessions and really fine tune what your energy type really is, and find techniques and modalities that are going to work for you. And that's a wonderful way to get started.
Wonderful. And so we always have People can see on the posts, when you find my posts, especially on the website, you'll see where you can get the information of the people on the show. And that includes Jaya Jaya Myra. And it's just like, oh, I want to do this, take some quizzes. And, you know, I was chuckling to myself is because I was thinking, you know, and I love the Dalai Lama. He always has such profound things to say, but I wonder how it would be if he had a wife, 3 kids and 2 dogs and an ex-wife and the ex-wife's wife and her kids. How would he feel about life?
Absolutely. It's really great. Like, people can feel very positive when there's not things around them to make them feel negative. But the real key is, if can you be happy and joyful when you're in the midst of everything?
Yes, I believe that is, as you learn in life, I believe that's how you see people who have become more mature. It's because they don't have the drama the same way. All kinds of things can happen, and yet their emotions aren't swinging back and forth all the time. They're able to step back and observe. I believe more people have to understand how to step back and observe, and then how to take action that's going to be useful action, that's going to make changes. I see now in our culture and society, a lot of people are angry. They're angry about what's going on in the national front, in the world front, and they do angry actions. I'm protesting, I'm yelling, I'm posting and arguing in the social media, and yet all this is not getting them anything except more anger. So it's about being able to step back and interact with the society. And you may feel indignant about something, but you're not going to attack other people, realizing that even if you completely disagree with everything they have to say, they still are your fellow human being that you are connected to. And if you're so angry at them, you need to wonder why you are so angry. What are you seeing in them that's in you?
Absolutely. I don't think we have the capacity to get and stay angry unless that seed is already inside of you and you haven't healed whatever was the original cause of trauma that put it there. Because when you're able to go in and get rid of those seeds, yes, anger can come, but then it's going to go too. It's not just going to stay. Every little thing is not going to make you angry. And so meditation helps with that. Alternative healing helps with that. Working with a therapist, of course, helps. I always recommend people to have some kind of a counselor or a therapist or a spiritual guide, because that process of talking is one of the most beneficial things for health and healing that there is. You have to be able to communicate and get this stuff out of you. It's like a first way for it to come out. Let it come out verbally. Let the garbage just come out and get rid of it. And then you can start really working and rooting it out, whether that be through exercise or yoga or meditation, working with a trainer. I mean, it doesn't matter the approach that you take. And that's what I love about true Eastern philosophy, is that there's no one size fits all approach to anything. It's all based on your unique constitution, on your dharma. Your swabhava is a Sanskrit word, so like your innate nature, which is what these elemental types come down to. Is like, these are all the aspects of your innate nature. So you find what works for you, and it's all about you. I can't say that what's going to work for me is going to work for someone else. So my act of service is to be able to tell what's going to work for the people that come to me, and give them the techniques and the philosophies and the teachings that are going to make them stronger. I think if more people adopted these kind of philosophies, the world would be a more tolerant place.
How do we have that happen with the 7 billion people on the earth?
I don't know, because we've always had violence. It's definitely nothing new.
Yes, it's true. So but on the other side, we're all here in this earth school, and there's people who are here in this earth school who aren't violent, who are watching the violence, and there's a reason that those people are here too. So,
and it's great. I think we need both, honestly. I think we need violence. We need negativity. People have to have negative experiences because it builds their character and it turns them into good people. It makes you stronger. If you've never had anything bad or unfortunate happen to you, how do you learn to become strong and resilient and be able to take care of other people who have problems? The most compassionate people are the ones who have suffered themselves. So I don't think that negativity is a bad thing. I think that we just can't let it harden our hearts, and we have to be willing to heal and to let things go, and then teach other people how to do the same.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to be a hero and a good person. I even believe those people who are bad want to somehow be good, but they get into that trap of being bad, and it becomes easy and a pattern and a self-fulfilling prophecy because they have that negative talk going on in their head too. So meditation is about sitting back and observing that those thoughts and feelings that are coming in, and asking why they are, and determining, okay, what can I do about this? Or how can I bring this over here from the yuck to the yum?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
so wonderful. Thank you so much, Jaya Jaya Myra. Jaya Jaya Myra. You'll see it in the show notes, so you'll know exactly how to spell it and everything like that. Jaya Jaya Myra. Thank you so much for your work, from molecular biologists in the pharmaceutical area to energy and healing and vibrations. Thank you so much for being on the Wellness Revolution.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.